What if the woman America praises as Hollywood's golden girl has been lying to everyone? What if the man she accused, publicly humiliated, and quietly erased wasn't the monster in the story but the target? Blake Lively built an empire on charm, feminism, and carefully crafted narratives. But behind the red carpets and curated interviews, a different picture is emerging. One that points to manipulation, power grabs, and an alleged smear campaign against the very man who helped bring her latest film to life. That man, Justin Baldoni, a father, a husband, and a man known for championing women's voices, until Blake decided his voice didn't belong. What you're about to hear has never been revealed in full. This isn't about gossip. It's about a secret that was buried, a plan that unraveled off camera, and a narrative that might have just been fabricated to destroy a man's career and take his film. If you thought you knew the truth, think again. Because once you see the whole picture, you'll never look at Blake Lively the same way again. Justin Baldoni wasn't just another actor trying to break into directing. He was the guy every man was told to emulate. He talked openly about his emotions. He loved his wife out loud. He showed up for his kids. On paper, he was a walking TED talk on how to be a better man. Social media ate it up. Clips of him talking about vulnerability and masculinity went viral. Fans called him the ultimate feminist husband. He was seen as the antidote to toxic Hollywood masculinity. But even Baldoni knew the truth wasn't that simple. In one raw moment, he admitted something most men in his position wouldn't dare say. If there was a camera on during some of the things I've said to my wife in moments of pain, I'd be cancelled in a heartbeat. That's not the kind of quote you give when you're trying to protect a perfect image. It was honest, maybe too honest, because as it turns out, that rawness, the very thing that made people trust him, would later be used against him. But Blake wasn't looking for honesty. She was building a case. And Justin? He had no idea that. Behind the scenes, his biggest battle wasn't with critics or even the film industry. It was with the very woman standing next to him on the red carpet. It started quietly, with a few hushed conversations, a few media leaks, and a narrative that began to take shape slowly and methodically, according to a source who came forward months before the lawsuit was dismissed. Blake Lively wasn't reacting to events. She was orchestrating them behind the curtain. Her publicist, Leslie Sloan, was allegedly feeding selective information to major media outlets, not just spin, not just PR fluff, but a calculated version of events designed to turn Justin Baldoni from a feminist icon into a problem. The message Justin was controlling. He was in the way. He was the wrong man to tell a woman's story. And once that idea was planted, it spread like wildfire. But here's what makes this so disturbing. This wasn't a response to any misconduct. It wasn't about inappropriate behavior on set or legal violations or even creative disputes. It was about power, about control of a story, and about who gets to be the voice behind a female-centered film and who gets pushed out. Insiders say Blake wanted full creative ownership, not just as the lead actress, but as the visionary, the storyteller, and the force behind the camera. And Justin, he was inconveniently in the way. So what do you do when you want to take someone's place but can't just ask for it? You make them look like they shouldn't be there in the first place. And what Blake did next, how she framed Justin's role in the film, would twist the entire narrative into something it was never meant to be. Blake didn't come out swinging. She didn't need to. Instead, she let whispers do the damage. According to reports from multiple sources, she began quietly telling people that Justin directing a film about female abuse was inappropriate. Not because he was abusive, not because there were complaints on set, but simply because he's a man. At first, it sounded like creative frustration. But then the language changed. It became political, charged, and deliberately provocative. Blake allegedly compared Justin's creative control to the government controlling women's bodies. She told people, a man directing this kind of film is no different than stripping a woman's right to choose. Let that sink in. A man who bought the rights, financed the project, and invited women into every step of the process, was being framed as a symbol of oppression, simply for doing his job. It didn't stop there. She pointed to the film's intimacy scenes, hinting that a man directing them was inherently wrong. She never accused Justin of misconduct. But she didn't need to. The implication was enough. Meanwhile, Blake's own husband, Ryan Reynolds, had just helped produce and star in films like Deadpool, known for graphic and raunchy scenes. No outrage there, no feminist talking points. So what made this different? The answer's simple. Control. Justin wasn't just telling a story. He was telling her story. Or at least the one she wanted to claim as her own. And if that meant turning a respected director into a political villain, so be it. Because Blake wasn't trying to protect the film. She was positioning herself to own it. For months, the rumors circulated. Was Justin controlling? Was the set toxic? Did Blake feel unsafe? The answers were vague, always couched in careful language, never direct accusations. Just enough to make people doubt him. Just enough to isolate him. But then came the tip. An anonymous source handed over information so detailed, so damning, it stopped even seasoned creators in their tracks. This wasn't fan speculation. This wasn't gossip. It was internal communications. Messages that allegedly showed Blake's PR team crafting a narrative before anything had even gone public. And it gets worse. The source claims Blake was telling people, before the drama exploded, that she never felt unsafe. That there was no harassment. That it wasn't about anything Justin did. It was about what he represented. A man. In control. Directing a woman's trauma. That's it. Not misconduct. Not abuse. Not even creative negligence. Just his presence. But behind closed doors, the strategy was ruthless. Paint him as indifferent, cold, and disinterested. Make it look like he wasn't promoting the film because he didn't care, not because he'd been shut out. And here's the kicker. While Blake played the exhausted lead, doing all the work, Justin had reportedly been told to step back, stay quiet, and disappear from the spotlight. He didn't pull away. He was pushed. This tip, this smoking gun, didn't just disprove Blake's timeline. It rewrote the entire script. Because if her story didn't match the behind-the-scenes reality, what else was she fabricating? In the months leading up to the film's release, something felt off. Justin Baldoni, the man who bought the rights, developed the script, financed the production, and directed the entire movie, was nowhere to be seen. No press junkets. No red carpet. No interviews. At first, fans assumed he was just stepping back to let others shine. But insiders say the truth was far more calculated. According to sources close to the production, Justin didn't step back. He was pushed out. Silenced. Disinvited. Strategically erased from the spotlight by the very team he helped build. And Blake? She didn't waste the opportunity. She allegedly told media contacts that Justin was lazy, checked out, and disinterested in the film's success. She implied he left the heavy lifting to her and that she was the one truly passionate about the story. It was all part of the setup. The narrative was clean, convenient, and devastating. Blake, the committed female lead, carrying the film on her back. Justin, the absent male director, just didn't care. But that's not what happened. Behind the scenes, Justin had been intentionally excluded from promotional events. Blake's team allegedly worked overtime to ensure he wasn't seen, wasn't heard, and, most importantly, wasn't believed. Because if he did speak up, he'd look like a bitter man trying to steal the spotlight from a powerful woman. And that's the genius of Blake's alleged strategy. By removing him from the narrative and planting just enough doubt, she made silence look like guilt. But this wasn't about bad behavior. This was about ownership. Blake didn't just want a star in the film. She wanted to take credit for it. And erasing the man who built it was just step one. Blake Lively didn't just want credit. She wanted control. Behind the scenes, reports say she began rewriting parts of the script, but not under her name. When questioned, she claimed the changes came from Colleen Hoover, the author of the original book. But according to multiple insiders, that wasn't true. There were no creative battles between Justin and Colleen. No demands from the author. In fact, Colleen had been involved from the very beginning and was even featured heavily in promotions. A rare honor most authors never get. The alleged rewrite was Blake's move. But here's what makes it chilling: her justification wasn't creative. It was personal. She allegedly told people that only a woman could tell a woman's story, that any man, no matter how qualified,